Welcome to the Iferia TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. I'm your host, Ezekiel Iferia, and today we are joined by Junaid Ahmed. Junaid is the founder of Humblezone and the creator of Home Studio Mastery, with 2 decades of experience in video production and user experience design. He now applies a systematic approach to help podcasters, speakers, and creators to build professional grade home studio. He is the author of several books, including Mastering iPhone Video Production, and hosts the Hacks and Hobbies podcast. In this episode, we'll explore his methodical framework for studio design and how he blends technical setup with human psychology for powerful on-camera presence. So, Junaid, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Ezekiel, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you very much for accepting my invitation. So let's dive in, Junaid. You have a fascinating blend of skills, 2 decades in video production and UX design for websites and apps. So does a designer's mindset for user experience directly influence how you architect a home studio for a content creator?
Absolutely, because when I was doing UX design, people would come and say, "Hey, I want this website designed," and I would ask, "Why? Why do you need this design? What's the purpose behind the website? Who's the audience?" Like all of those questions that are underlying build the foundation for that website. We also need to ask the same questions to people who are showing up on video. Why are they doing these videos? Why are they doing the podcast? Who's the audience? What's the purpose? What's the message? So when you have those things dialed in, you can then design a studio space. You can then design and recommend the right type of things for them to then put in that studio, because your studio is your signature. It speaks before you even say a word.
Sure.
So that's why it dials in, it leans into what I did for the past 20 plus years in UX design, asking those questions, interviewing the people to understand what they're looking to deliver, what they're looking to build. And those same questions are valuable even now when you're designing your studio space, when you're designing your video and the message that you're trying to get across.
Great, great response there, Junaid. So, you talk about a systematic process for building home studio. So, for the engineers and system thinkers in our audience, what does that step-by-step blueprint look like? Is it about ergonomics or psychology first? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
Absolutely. So the studio blueprint covers many different aspects, from where your room is, what room you're going to be using, which space are you going to be setting up the studio, and how does it sound in that room? Is it echoey? Is it bright? Is it cheery? Is it dark? So all of those elements, you've got to understand your environment before you step in to say, "Hey, I'm going to go buy this microphone. I'm going to go buy this video camera," etc. So once we start with that analyzation and figuring out where you're going to do this thing, then we can move to the next step of figuring out, okay, what are the things that we need? Are you going to have a bookshelf in your background? Are you going to have a wall background in your space? So all of these different things come into play. So we go step by step in figuring out the different things that are needed in that space, and then put those things together for literally anybody.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. That was really fascinating. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, this is pretty impressive. So, how exactly is that done? I mean, how can someone implement that for their own studio?
So to implement for their own studio, the first thing they want to know and understand is to analyze their space. Hey, how many windows are in my room? How many doors are in my room? when I set the camera up, is the door shown in the shot? Are the windows shown in the shot? Because again, our eyes look in one direction, and we might create a space that's beautiful, but as soon as you turn the camera on, guess what the camera is now looking at? It's not looking at what you're looking at. The camera is looking behind you. It's looking opposite to you. So you literally have to turn around. Once you've set up the space that you're going to work in, you literally have to turn around and see, okay, what does the camera see? And when you turn the camera on, it'll literally show you what it sees. And then you can stage that setup. You can stage the look and feel of what you want to show in that setup. So step by step. So first you analyze the room and you figure out where the lights are coming from. And then you say, okay, I can use these window lights as an add-on light, or do I want to completely start with a blank slate? So what I like to do is I like to paint the room with lights. So first you understand the room, then you say, okay, now let's bring in some lights. As you're sitting in the room, you bring in those lights, and yes, you can have multiple levels of lights, and I can do a little demo to give you kind of an idea. So
All
let me
right.
go ahead and turn off the lights in my room. Okay, let's see if I can do that. So my lights are off in my room.
Yeah.
When I initially come to the room, I just have me overhead lights. Usually most people have these kind of lights when they're in the space. So then what you start to do is let's turn off all the lights and then start adding one light at a time based on what the camera sees. So now I have the key light on and you can kind of see me in full light, and then I can start adding additional lights, for example, a hair light or a shoulder or rim light. So now you can see my hair and my body separate from the background.
Yeah.
And then you add in a fill light, which is again fills in more of the room, more of my body. You can see it much more properly. And then you add some accent lighting in your background, which then creates the entire scene. Right? So you're setting up these lights methodically, intentionally to say, hey, this is what I want to show. Now, we've been watching movies for hundreds of years now, right?
Yeah.
About 100, 120 plus years. Every single scene that they set up, they spend a ton of time to say, hey, where's the light going to coming from? What emotion do I want to relay to the viewer? And we're doing exactly the same thing. So again, methodically, look at your room, look at where the lighting is going to be, look at what are people going to see in your background. In your background, if I see you, I see a slat wall, a little bit of your chair. That's about it. Doesn't tell me a whole lot. Maybe you're a gamer because you're using a gaming chair. You're wearing a gamer headset. Maybe you game, right? So those are a little bit of giveaway of what you do and who you are. And maybe that's intentional or maybe that's unintentional. So again, you have to think of all of these things, what the message is coming across.
Wow, wow. That was a really cool illustration and a very, very great and insightful response there, Junaid. So let's talk about the tech. So in your book, Mastering iPhone Video Production, so you show how to get professional results with minimal gear. So what's the, most, or what should I say, what's the single most important technical principle people overlook when using a phone as their main camera?
So the number one thing people overlook now, the idea behind that book was me going through my own journey of using just a smartphone to capture video and get reps in, right? When you get reps in, when you're, let's say, practicing those basketball hoop shots, you're doing the reps and you're going to miss a lot of the times, but the more you do, the better you're going to get at it. So the idea behind that book specifically was to get people to be comfortable in recording video with their smartphones. Now, the next book that I wrote that's specifically focused on studio building is The 7 Stages of Home Studio Evolution. And this book also starts with, hey, start with your smartphone, but frame it so that you are in the camera shot as you're in front of a webcam, right? So it kind of gives them an idea. And the number one thing that I tell people is like, no matter what gear you already have, spend the time with it. Record the video with it so that you're more comfortable. You're coming off more authentical when you're speaking in front of the camera, in front of the microphone. Because there's two different things, right? You can master video production on your camera by capturing what you see from your eyes,
Yeah.
but it's a totally different game when you turn the camera around on yourself, right?
Mm.
That's a different game. So in studio setup, in podcasting, we're in front of the camera. We're not behind the camera anymore. The camera is just sitting in one place and is capturing as you speak to the audience. So the book goes through 7 different stages. The first stage is, again, use your smartphone to record content, speaking to the camera, speaking to the audience, getting handle of, getting comfortable in speaking and telling them the message.
Mm.
And as you level up, then you can add on a better microphone. Then you can add on a better lighting setup. Then you can add on a higher end camera. Then you can add on some room treatment. So all of those things are taking you step by step as you grow. Because here's a cool fact, Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Literally anybody can walk in to a studio,
Mm.
right? A
Yeah.
preset studio. But if they're not comfortable in speaking and sharing their message, it doesn't matter how high end the gear is, how high end the studio is, they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
So the first step is to put the effort in, put the time in, put the energy in, working that muscle of telling the story, working that muscle to share what's on your mind and what message you have to that you want to share.
Great response there, Junaid. So you've outlined the 7 stages of home studio evolution. So I'd like to ask, what, in your opinion, is the most common stage where people get stuck or plateau, and what's the key to breaking through to the next level?
So the number one thing that people get stuck on is, number one, they don't like how they look on camera. Number two, they don't like the sound of their voice.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Guess what? People around us have been seeing us and listening to our voice for many, many years.
Yeah.
Just because you haven't heard your own voice through the microphone or through a recorded set doesn't mean that you sound different to others. You sound exactly the same. So we have to just get over the fact that we're going to sound different to ourselves first few times. And the best way to get over that is to go take different challenges. I do a 30-day video challenge where every single day I'll send an email with a prompt that says, hey, today you're answering this question on video. Take 30 seconds, take 90 seconds, take 3 minutes, whatever is comfortable for you, take that time to record that video. Because what I'm trying to get you to do is to take those step by step, those daily activities to get comfortable in front of the camera. And that's going to open up your mind. So those are some of the things that I focus on.
Great. So, Junaid, you emphasize that the hardest part of this is learning how to talk in front of the camera confidently. From a UX perspective, is it possible to design the studio environment itself to reduce that psychological barrier and make someone feel more confident and natural in a studio?
100%. Here's the beautiful part about when you're setting up a studio. The lighting, the camera angles, the sound, like everything is dialed in to a 9, right? And what that means is that when you see yourself in camera, you're like, oh my God, I look good, right? Because it's all about the lighting. Just like when I did the demo of not having these uh, studio lights on, I look like crap, even though I'm using a high-end camera, right? So when you have the lighting dialed in, anybody would look beautiful and great on camera, and that inherently gives you the confidence. Now imagine you're invited to a party, a ballroom party. How do you dress up? People dress up nicely because
Yeah.
that gives them confidence. So we're doing the same thing with our studio spaces, is that we're setting them up in a way that's going to give us confidence so that every single time that you show up on camera, you look exactly how people would see you in person.
Great. So, you've worked with major influencers. So, I'd like to know what's one non-obvious habit or setup detail that you've consistently seen, among top-tier professionals that anyone can actually copy.
So what I've seen in a lot of the studio spaces is, again, it all comes down to personal preference. What's the reason? What are they trying to do with this with the video? And is it a podcast or is it a YouTube show? And you'll see differences between the two. In a YouTube video or a video show, you'll never see a microphone in the shot because you're talking directly to the camera or you're talking to somebody in person.
Mm,
So you're creating that bond with the person that's with you, or you're telling a story in a specific way. Whereas when you're doing a podcast, you'll always see a microphone in the shot because you're having a conversation with a person on the other side. I'm having a conversation with Ezekiel on this podcast, whereas on a YouTube, I'm having a conversation maybe with one person, but I'm telling a story to one person on video. So again, thinking of those few elements is something that's going to help you to figure out, hey, which direction you want to go to. And that's something that you can easily copy by looking at, hey, I like MKBHD's videos.
yeah.
How is he doing? And he's even launched a new channel where every single video was shot on a smartphone. And that channel alone has 1 million followers, right? It all comes down to, are you delivering the content that the audience is looking for? And are you doing it authentically?
Great response, great response. So for say if a bootstrapped founder or a student with limited budget, so what's one piece of gear you'd tell them to invest in first that will give them the biggest ROI in perceived professionalism?
Yeah, so the number one thing that I always recommend is, first you want to get a good microphone so that people can actually hear you, what you're talking about, and they can pay attention. The next thing that they could do is treat their room for sound, right? I've seen people spend $500-$600 on a microphone, and they still sound like they're using a webcam microphone, or they're using a laptop microphone. Why? Because they didn't treat their room. They didn't add carpets or rugs or curtains or soundproofing elements in their room. So the echo is coming back and going back into the microphone. So that's the number one thing, is to get a good microphone, treat your room. The number three thing is to get a good light setup. Now, I've showed a demo of, 3-point setup, 3-point lights that I have. Anybody can start with this. And if I show you the behind the scenes, I've got 2 massive lights in front of me that are, again, shining on me,
Yeah.
which create this look. So that's number 3. Now, number 4 or number 3, you can relocate this anywhere you want, is how you frame yourself in the shot. Now, right now, if I see your frame, you're really close up to the camera.
Mhm.
It's called the extreme close-up. So Hollywood has terminology for every type of shot.
Yeah.
There's a medium shot, there's a close-up shot, there's a cowboy shot. So again, different shots have a different story that they're telling. So you want to make sure that you're matching or framing yourself for authority. 2 fingers from the top of the frame. Your chin is basically on the 3rd line. Your eyes are on the 1st line. And below, you have plenty of room for your microphone or for an overlay that you might want to put on. So again, framing yourself the best way possible. And it doesn't require anything. You're just adjusting the camera, how far away it is from you, How high is it from your eye level? So those are some things that you can do even as a first step. And as you bring in those lights and as you bring in those microphones, it's going to, again, start to help you look more professional as you grow. And it gives you more confidence.
Yeah, really very insightful response. So you talked about treating your room for sound. So can you like walk us through the process of how someone can get their room treated for sound to make their microphone sound better?
Mm-hmm. So again, so to start treating your room for sound, you want to make sure that you're eliminating flat surfaces. So if you have a flat wall without anything on top of it, it's going to create that reverb or bounce audio back into your microphone. The other thing that I've seen a lot of people do is they're sitting really close to a wall. When you're sitting close to the wall, guess what's happening? The sound is bouncing back from behind the wall and coming into the microphone, which creates that echo.
Hmm.
So to eliminate that, make sure at least you have 3 feet away from the wall. The other things that you can do is in the corners, you can put rugs, you can put comforters, you can basically, they're called bass traps because the sound as it's going, it's going to get absorbed there. But if you don't have anything there, it's going to bounce around in that corner and come back into the microphone. So lots of different things that you can do to treat your room without having to spend a ton of money.
All right. Great response. June, looking at the future of content creation, so what's an emerging technology or trend in studio design that you believe will become, a standard in the next couple of years?
So something that's been becoming more and more popular are teleprompters, right? Because what teleprompters do, they let you have your notes on hand, make eye contact with the audience, and keep you nice and tight because you can kind of see how you are in frame, right? I can adjust the camera. I can like, hey, I'm a little bit off shot. It helps you see what the audience is going to see. So teleprompter have been becoming more and more popular. I started using one almost 5 years ago, and now um, you can see popular consumer electronics makers like Elgato are making prompters that anybody can pick up and connect in their setup. Uh, Even if you have a webcam or a smartphone as your camera, you can use a teleprompter to level up your look and make that eye contact with the audience.
All right. So, as a podcast host yourself, what has been on the other side of the mic taught you about the guest experience that you now bake into the studio designs that you create for the podcast host?
Yeah, so as a guest and as a host, it's really important to get the guest on the same level as you are as a podcast host. So, what does that mean? Just like you shared with me at the beginning of the show, here's what we're going to do, kind of like run down to the guest. Here's what's going to happen. But the other thing that helps podcast hosts or helps as a guest for you to be invited back to the show is to have a really clean setup. Because one thing it's going to eliminate from the host side is how much work they will need to put in to editing your audio or do any post-production work. So as a guest, I'm teaching guests all the time how to level up their spaces so that every time they come on camera, even if they're recording a video for themselves, for their marketing, for their courses, they're going to show up authentically and they're going to show up the same way, every single time.
All right, great response. So, for the many people, like for my particular audience, the technical experts who are brilliant but camera shy. So, what's one low stakes exercise you'd give them to start building their on camera comfort and confidence?
Yeah, so what I would say is start writing questions that you might see people are asking based on your expertise. So, what do I mean by that? So, for example, if you are an athlete and people asking you questions about you being an athlete, write down those questions and then answer those questions in a video format in front of the camera. And that becomes your library, because not only does it make it easy for you to record video content, but also makes it easy for you to speak your mind because you have an expertise on it. A lot of the time people say, hey, I'm going to record a video, but I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And then half the time they're just waiting to think about what they're going to say. And then it's probably 5-6 minutes into the video that they're actually coming up to the point that they want to make. But if you start with that question in mind, and I like to do this exercise where I'll sit down and I write down all the questions that I read and other people are asking me or emailing me, or maybe I'm in a forum, or maybe I'm in a group and people asking questions about specific things, and I'll write down those questions because I have the answers, and I'll start recording videos and answering those questions. It just makes it so much easy for literally anybody to, again, show up on camera and start talking. The other thing that I would recommend is, instead of using the front facing camera where you could see yourself, I would use the back camera, because you cannot see yourself. So now you're not thinking about what you're looking like anymore, because you're now literally providing value and answering questions.
All right. So, part of the theme of this podcast is centered around innovations. For that reason, I like to reserve one question on innovation for every guest that I have a conversation with on this podcast. So, in your work, systematically applying principles of user experience and production to create spaces that empower authentic human expressions. So, what does the word innovation truly mean to you, Junaid?
Innovation is something that you're stepping out in the uncomfortable zone. So over time, we become really comfortable with what we have. And so innovation would be something you're stepping out of that comfort zone and trying something new. And lucky for us, we're in a time where there's literally new things coming out every single day, every single week. LLMs are growing up so fast. There's image generation, there's video generation. Like, there's so many tools available. So for me, innovation is to discover how can you use those tools that are available in my business. So every single day, every single week, I take some time out and spend time in figuring out how things work, so then I can integrate it with my business.
All right. So you offer a fantastic free resource, the 5-day home studio rehab challenge. So what can someone expect to accomplish in those 5 days?
So the 5 days home studio rehab challenge was something that I did in the past. It's going to be coming back probably starting next year. But the first thing that the quickest thing that somebody can access is the video studio gear guide that I have available for anybody to go download at my site. So I can share the link for it to your audience. So simply go to homestudiomastery.com/gear-guide, and it'll give you access to this gear guide, which walks you through 3 basic setups and a professional setup, and what gear you would need to get started.
Great, fantastic, great resource. So how about say someone wants to connect with you or contact you or follow you online? So where should they go?
Yeah, so I'm on all social media platforms at Super Junaid. Find me on Instagram. I'm pretty active over there, and other platforms if you're active there as well. So just look up Super Junaid and you'll find me.
Great, Junaid. It's been a very insightful and educating conversation with you, and I'm very excited and honored to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Ezekiel, for your time. Appreciate it.